In this Fextralife video, we're going to be taking a look at The Outer Worlds 2. This was a game that was announced last year, and they showed off some gameplay recently at Developer Direct. We were right in the middle of Nightreign when that happened, so I didn't have time to get around to covering it. So now that things have kind of slowed down there, I'm getting into taking a look at that. But in this video, we're going to talk about what they announced, what they showed in that gameplay, what our expectations for this game are based on what we've seen. And this is a game that I hope to find out more information about at Gamescom 2. So if you are an Outer Worlds fan and you're looking for a little bit more information, stay tuned because I should probably have something next month as well. So before I get into the game itself, I just want to talk a little bit about Obsidian and the weird place that they're in right now. Following the release of Avowed, which kind of had a mixed reception, it's one of those mid-games, if you will, where a lot of people didn't like it. Some people really liked it. I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't what I wanted from Avowed, but I still found the things about it that I liked outweighed the things I didn't, even though it wasn't exactly how I would have designed the game if I could do it myself. There's certainly flaws in it. And The Outer Worlds had a lot of the same things. Like, they were different issues, but it did have similar problems wherein it didn't live up to the expectations of Fallout in Space. It was a very safe game. I guess you could use the word generic a little bit. Like, there wasn't anything super special about the game. It was an okay game. It wasn't a terrible game. It wasn't an amazing game. It was somewhere in the middle. So they put out two decent RPGs in these titles, but nothing really mind-blowing. They haven't put out a really good RPG in a long time at this point. You know, harking back to the days of Fallout New Vegas and Neverwinter Nights 2, we're all kind of reminiscing about that, and we know that Obsidian can create these titles, but we're waiting to see that from them again, and The Outer Worlds 2 is an opportunity to prove that they can still make games of that caliber. That being said, the second game promises to deliver a much larger scale of a game than the first one. I do think, you know, despite the criticisms of The Outer Worlds, the first game was mostly successful, and that's why we have a second game. So hopefully that scale and, you know, taking the feedback that they got from the first game results in a much larger and more interesting Outer Worlds 2. So getting into the game itself, the story of The Outer Worlds 2 will be set in Arcadia, which is a distant star system colonized after the events of the first game. So it's happening after that in the timeline, where three factions are vying for control, and you will take on the role of the character known as the Commander, who is an agent of the Earth's Directorate sent to Arcadia to investigate certain happenings that are going on there. You can expect more of the satirical humor, similar to the first game, with a dystopian sci-fi future where corporations have taken over, offering quirky dialogues and continuations of the themes of the first title. In The Outer Worlds 2, there will be three different factions, one of which is the Protectorate, which is your military faction. There is the Order of the Ascendant, which is your religious faction, and then Auntie's Choice, which is the shady corporate faction. These three factions will be competing for each other for control of the Arcadia system, and obviously there are rifts between these factions, and you'll have to navigate those as you play the game. One of the things that Obsidian is promising this time around is more reactive quests to player decisions, both in terms of the major storylines and the companion storylines. And of course, the game will have multiple endings as well. So this will be something to see if they actually can deliver on that. I think one of the major issues with gaming these days is it's less reactive than players want. I think this is why Baldur's Gate 3 and Lyrian has seen so much success. They have made extremely reactive games where players have a lot of agency and freedom. If Obsidian can crank this up and allow for more player agency and impact in their decisions, I think that will go a long way to making The Outer Worlds 2 a much better title than the first game. So one of the things that they showed during Developer Direct was parts of character creation. They didn't show the actual appearance, whether you can make your character look exactly how you want, but they did show some of the customization choices that you can make during character customization. Like, you can still pick backgrounds, you'll have some perks to pick from. In the first game, there were a lot of things you could choose at the beginning of the game, so it seems like we'll still have that going on. And there is a flaw system returning from the first game as well. This is not something I messed around with a ton because simply, you know, a lot of times flaws are just terrible to have on your character. But I can see people like really enjoying playing silly playthroughs with some of these flaws, particularly like on Twitch or something like that. They showed off the fan favorite dumb flaw, which allows you to choose dumb options during dialogue, which results in some hilarious things happening. So if you like that in the first game, that's returning. They also showed off a flaw of bad knees, where you make a large popping sound when you stand up after being crouched, which alerts everyone to your presence, which is obviously terrible for a stealth character if you're trying to play, or kleptomaniac, or sometimes when you're looking at things, you just steal them. So if you like go shopping in a shop, you can accidentally steal things unintentionally. Seems very interesting. I don't know how many people are going to be taking these flaws in practicality, but I still like the option there. Sometimes just having these options makes a game better. One of the things that's really interesting is these different skills, perks, and flaws will allow players to tackle different problems in multiple ways, as they showed in the video. In one of the scenes, you can see how he's able to get through a jammed door by different means, depending on the perk that he has. And even though this is a subtle change, if these subtle changes are all over the game, it can definitely make an experience much better. Besides tackling obstacles, skills and perks will allow you to have a combat playstyle similar to what you would want. So if you want to be like on a full assault type build, you can, or be that stealthy assassin that stylingly takes down enemies, you can. The game will offer a variety of ways to mix and match perks to create unique playstyles, just like the first game. There were at least like half a dozen playstyles in the first game, which I thought were interesting. I hope that there are more in this game because it will add to the longevity of the game itself, but we'll have to see like what sort of combinations you can come up with. Also in the gameplay, they showcased a mission called The Bridge that was tackled in multiple ways by the player, ranging from going in guns blazing, sneaking underneath the bridge, and just finding a different way by jumping across the gap and bypassing the bridge altogether. So there are some possibilities in terms of solving problems in this game, but we'll just have to see how that extends throughout the whole game. Is this just going to be a few missions that have things like this, or is it going to be across the broader game as a whole? Something else that I find fantastic and is good news is that science weapons will be returning. These are like quirky weapons that the game had that were generally overpowered and really fun to play with. For instance, the shrink ray will make a return, so you can shrink enemies and turn them into little things. And this time around, you can actually step on them and crush them after you shrink them, which is pretty cool. And there will be undoubtedly new science weapons added to the game, so I can't wait to see what these are. It's a very creative outlet that Obsidian has in this game. And there's also going to be science armor. It's like a living armor that attacks enemies nearby. And I wonder like how many varieties of these we'll see in the game. So that should mix things up a little bit from a combat perspective as well. One of the more common criticisms of the Outer Worlds 1 is that the gunplay was not the greatest. I totally agree with this assessment. It was okay, but it wasn't amazing. And supposedly they've been working on this, trying to improve it. If you look at the gameplay, the gunplay looks a little better in my estimation. It's less floaty, it's more clunky and weighty, which seems great. Tactical time dilation makes a return, so you can slow time down and shoot enemy weak points. Kind of like the VAT system, but obviously not. So we'll have to see how this is as a whole. Like, I don't know how this is. I'm hoping, again, we'll get more clarity of this at Gamescom, but I'm hoping that the gunplay is improved from the first title. It wasn't bad, but again, it wasn't great. Although they didn't mention any specifics regarding the size of explorable maps in Outer Worlds 2, we will be getting at least 3 cities that are related to the 3 factions, so 1 for each, and we'll be getting a larger explorable space compared to the original game, which was quite small in my opinion. So hopefully that means there are more planets to explore with a lot more to do. I don't know what the size of this game is going to be because they haven't said specifically, but I'm hoping that it's at least like 50% larger or twice as big. I think that would be great. Another important aspect that we've come to expect from Obsidian RPGs is good companions, and hopefully they deliver in this regard. There were some fan favorites in the first game for sure, and during the showcase, they got to showcase some colorful ones ranging from an Earth Directorate agent to a psychopathic cultist. So it'll be interesting to see how we can interact and form bonds with these companions because they're part of any good RPG, especially some of the best RPGs out there. We couldn't romance our companions in the first game, so I'm hoping that's an option in this game. It seems like Obsidian is just staying away from this topic in general, which is a shame because romance has been one of my favorite things in these types of RPGs historically. So hopefully that makes it into the game as well. Another feature that's being added to Outer Worlds 2, which is something I missed from their previous games, is the radio. Just listening to the radio as you explore the, wasteland of Fallout 3 and New Vegas, etc., was a unique experience, and it really helped with the immersion of the game, and some of those songs are still widely known by fans of those series. So having a radio with tunes from each location, I think will really help immerse people into the game, and it's a small thing for sure, but I think it just generally helps immerse you into the environment. Something else that's being added is a third-person mode for the Outer Worlds 2. This is something Avowed had. I played through almost all of Avowed in third person, and it was definitely doable. The combat was not terrible. It wasn't amazing. It was certainly better in first person if you were playing a ranged character, but I felt melee was a little bit better from third person. So if you're someone who likes playing these types of games, but first person makes you motion sick, then you'll have absolutely the option to go into third person. And even if it's not the most amazing third person, the fact that they've developed it and allow you to have it for those people who want it, I think is always a step in the right direction. Giving people freedom to choose how they want to play is never something to criticize. The Outer Worlds as a series leans towards a more cartoony art style, and they're staying true to that in this one as well, with the same aesthetics are very similar, which I don't mind. I kind of liked it. It grew on me. It wasn't my early previews of the Outer Worlds. That was something that I really harped on, but it actually grew on me after I played it, particularly the first couple of worlds. It kind of faded after that. But in terms of character designs and stuff like that, they're going to be having a similar art style to what they've seen previously in the Outer Worlds. Also, the colorful, vibrant art style seems to fit with the satirical nature of this game. Like, for some reason, they just kind of dovetail well together because you're not taking it too seriously and you're not really supposed to. And there will be a noticeable upgrade in visual fidelity. The game is running on Unreal Engine 5 from what we've seen. We didn't see any frame stutters or frame drops with what they were showing. Obviously, this is early. So hopefully we'll get some clarity on that moving forward. But obviously, with Unreal Engine 5, there's always the worry that you're going to get bad performance. And performance is absolutely something that can kill a game before it's even got off the ground. So we'll have to see how that is. Hopefully it's not a problem. In terms of like the different environments you'll be seeing in the game, there seems to be a good variety of environments so far. You have like a science lab and factories and frozen tundras and alien forests. The developers mentioned a difference from the first game where it was all dystopian corporation on a frontier colony. And now they're taking an approach closer to World War I militarized locales. So I'm interested to see how that translates into a Space Odyssey type game. That's something that's got me really curious. One of the things that I am concerned about combat-wise, though, is enemy designs. From what we've seen in the showcase, we didn't really see a lot of enemy variety apart from insects, robots, and people. The first game didn't have a huge variety of enemies either. So I think enemy variety is really important. And if they don't have a variation of things to fight, maybe some like unique bosses and things like that, I think it's really going to be a disservice to people who like this type of, gunplay and combat. So final thoughts for this game. I think I'm pretty hopeful for the Outer Worlds 2. I generally enjoyed the game. I didn't think it was an amazing game, but I generally enjoyed what I played. It was definitely more front-loaded. Like, the further you got into the game, the worse it was. So I'm hoping that's not the case in this title. And I'm hoping they tweak some of these things, because just a few quality of life improvements, a few improvements to enemy variety, a few improvements to outrageous things you can do in the game, more science weapons, more locales. These things will just make a better experience as a whole. I really hope they take some risks with this game, though. I really felt like in the Outer Worlds they played it safe. Nothing was controversial about that game. And I want to be able to make decisions that are like, that you have to think for a second and be like, ooh, what am I going to do? I want to be able to romance companions. And I can see where maybe I'm a bit more optimistic than other people are. I did enjoy Avowed a bit more than the average player did, probably. But the thing that has me concerned about this game is not just whether they can meet these expectations, but the fact that this game is $79.99 on PlayStation. This is a $80 game, effectively. So the expectations for this game not only have to be what a game would be at $60, but now what a game would be at $80, which is even more of an expectation. So I don't know how many people are going to play this game for $80 unless they're able to meet and surpass the expectations of the Outer Worlds 1, and they probably have to do it by a good margin in order to justify $79.99. What do you guys think? Am I off base with the Outer Worlds 2? Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Are you looking forward to hearing more about this game soon? Let me know in the comments below.